Let me tell you about the day Karen tried to have my boat towed. A move so bold, so deliciously petty. It might as well have been her own eviction notice. I'm sitting in my old aluminum fishing boat, letting the morning mist roll off Crystal Lake, enjoying that peaceful kind of quiet that feels earned, when out of nowhere, here comes the thunder. The roar of a yacht engine. Real expensive, real out of place, cuts through the stillness. It's a pristine white pleasure craft, and up at the bow stands this woman, arms crossed, chin up, sunglasses glaring, shouting like she owns the sunrise itself. If you ever want to meet someone who can weaponize a clipboard and a condescending smile, you want to meet Karen Whitfield, just once and never again. "This is private property," she screams, perfume cloud nearly choking out the smell of her yacht's premium fuel. "Remove that rust bucket now." You want to laugh. You want to ask her what planet she's from, but you can see she's dead serious. Me? I just sip my coffee, let the water slap easy against my hull, and tell her, "Ma'am, you might want to check your paperwork on that." You ever had someone try to tell you they own the water under your feet? It's a special kind of crazy. I'd love to know. Have you ever had a neighbor like that? Drop your story in the comments. Hell, tell me where you're watching from, because I swear, every town's got a Karen. Anyway, let me back up. Name's Jake Morrison. 3 months before all this, I'd inherited my granddad's cabin, tiny, crooked, stubborn as he was, after he passed at 89. Gramps was my anchor after my divorce went nuclear. If you've ever had lawyers chew through your savings like termites, you know the feeling. I work as a marine mechanic. I've got motor oil under my nails that'll probably outlive me. My back complains like an old dock board every morning. But Gramps always said, honest work beats easy money. Sitting on his dock, watching the mist roll off the lake, I finally got it. That kind of peace. Can't buy it. The lake, 200 acres, ringed by old-growth forest, was once the town's swimming hole. Gramps told stories about summer festivals, kids splashing, families with picnics on the public beach. But that was before the million-dollar homes sprouted like mushrooms after rain. Now my granddad's cabin stuck out like a weed in a manicured garden. My neighbors had lawns you could eat off and boat lifts worth more than my truck. Me? Wildflowers, a dock held together with hope and marine screws, and an aluminum boat with honest scars. Then along came Karen. Moved here 5 years ago, straight from the city, and declared herself president, self-appointed, of what she called Crystal Lake Estates. Early 50s, never met a problem she couldn't solve with a rule book and a threat. Drives a BMW that sparkles like a trophy, irons her casual lake attire, and never forgets the clipboard. First time I met her, I was elbows deep swapping spark plugs on my 87 Lund. She marches down the dock, heels tapping like a ticking clock, white pants probably worth more than my month's groceries. "Excuse me," she says, all syrup and steel. "I'm Karen Whitfield, HOA president. We need to discuss your watercraft situation." That word, watercraft, she made it sound like my boat was radioactive waste. She hands me a document thick with legal letterhead. A cease and desist says I've got 48 hours to remove my boat from the private lake. It's at everything: property values, aesthetic standards, even environmental hazards. "Ma'am," I told her, "I've fished this lake since I was knee-high to a grasshopper." She smiles, cold as ice. "I understand sentimental attachments, but this is private property now. We've invested significant resources. If you don't comply, we'll pursue legal remedies, including having your boat towed at your expense." She hands me a business card so heavy you could skip it across the lake, then struts back to her BMW. That's when it hit me. This isn't about a boat. It's about whether money gets to erase history, whether the people who built something get to keep it, or whether the highest bidder just buys it out from under them. Karen didn't waste time. Within a week, she'd called an emergency HOA meeting about undesirable elements. I wasn't invited, but word travels fast. She ran a petition called Protecting Our Investment and Community Values. My boat was the mug shot. Photos from every angle, shared on the neighborhood Facebook, warnings about deteriorating standards. Now, let me tell you, lake communities are like high school cafeterias. Everyone knows their table. Crossing lines makes people nervous. Karen rallied the luxury crowd, warning them about trailer parks and RVs, painting me as the boogeyman. Overnight, neighbors stopped waving, started crossing the street. Anonymous complaints went to the county. Leaking oil. Nonsense. I keep my equipment cleaner than most marriages. A few neighbors, apologetic, warned me. Karen says property values could drop 20%. That's how bullies work. Make you feel alone, like giving up is easier. But Karen didn't know me, or my granddad. So I counterpunched. I spent a Saturday in the county courthouse, in a basement that smells like old coffee and broken dreams, with clerks who've seen every land dispute. I meet Betty Kowalski. She's been filing deeds since before Karen was born. I tell my story. She hauls out plat books older than me, fingers tracing lines across pages yellow as old leaves. Lake ownership gets tricky, she says, especially with natural water bodies. She shows me the original deed, my granddad's. There's language about water rights, historical access, legal Greek, but Betty translates. My family had rights going beyond just the shore. Thing is, Betty says there was a big dispute in the 60s. Federal involvement. Never properly resolved, just buried in paperwork. She suggests checking with the state environmental office. Lakes like this sometimes have protected status, superseding local claims. I leave with a box of copies, a head buzzing with possibilities. This wasn't a trespass case. This was a property rights battle that could shake the pillars of Karen's gated paradise. That evening, fishing line drifting, I watched the sun drop behind Karen's mansion. My phone buzzes. Last warning. Remove boat or face consequences. Concerned citizens. I laugh. When bullies go anonymous, it means their ground's shakier than they admit. Here's what most folks don't realize. Always check original deeds when someone claims to own water or beach. A lot of private property is just creative paperwork. 6 months later, Crystal Lake was, well, picture a Norman Rockwell painting. Kids swimming, families laughing. The lake belonged to everyone again. The Crystal Lake Public Trust ran the show now. My granddad's cabin became a visitor center, and families learned about conservation, history, what really matters. The free boat launch bust, weekend cookouts, affordable access, and the air smelling like fish and pine and wood smoke. Karen? Convicted of harassment, fraud, and threatening government officials. She got community service. The irony, try and privatize a lake, now working to clean up parks. Mansion, yacht, BMW gone. Last I heard, she'd moved, probably looking for her next HOA to terrorize. Funny twist. Her husband, Richard, became one of our biggest supporters. Turns out, losing Karen was the best thing that ever happened to him. The legal precedent set here, cited all over the region. Dozens of lakes, hundreds of illegally privatized waters, all under review. New laws protecting community access. For me, the change was huge. My divorce felt like another life. That cabin wasn't just a home. It became the center of something bigger. Dr. Sarah Chun, the environmental lawyer who'd fought by my side, well, let's just say the lake brought us together for good. But the best part? Gramps' legacy. Those stories about the lake belongs to everyone weren't just old man nostalgia. They were marching orders. The Grandfather's Memorial Scholarship, funded by donations, has already sent 3 kids to study conservation. Teens got jobs fixing trails. Seniors fished from new accessible docks. Families with no club memberships could finally enjoy nature again. Now the soundtrack to the lake is small boat engines, kids splashing, laughter echoing off the water. On summer evenings, I still sit on the dock, but now I'm rarely alone. The weekly fish fry. Everyone comes, swapping stories, sharing meals. Agnes Murphy, 88 and still sharp, sometimes sits beside me, looking out at kids skipping stones where Karen's got used to strut. You know what your granddad would say? She asks. Some things are worth more than money. They're worth fighting for. She's right. So that's my story. If you got an HOA nightmare, or a neighbor who thinks rules are for everyone but them, share below. Let's shine a light on these little dictators. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't just winning the fight. It's giving people back what was always theirs. And that's a lesson Karen, for all her money, never did learn.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.